in Florida. You're up.
Hey, Yuri, first I want to say thank you. Your app has saved my butt numerous times, more than I can even count. And I still, I used it exclusively for a long time over like Google apps and also Apple apps, Maps. So thank you. And I always smile when I see it in an Uber. I bet you probably do too. That Uber driver doesn't know who they're driving. My question is, it's around, advice to entrepreneurs or founders when they're, later on in their stage, maybe 10 or 15 years in, they've had product market fit and they're maybe a $200 million business and growing on their way to $1 billion, and around, tough decisions around layoffs, because we see so many tech companies now laying people off, like growth at all costs and then cutting, and then growth at all costs and then cutting. It's almost like a drug to maybe cut to revenue, to cut their rate of revenue. And my question is, when, if you've, as an entrepreneur ever had to lay someone off, what were the determining factors for you really at the end of the day? And then maybe the follow-up would be any advice on how to actually communicate those messages to the people, because even though you're solving big problems, you don't solve them alone, you solve them with people. So I've seen a lot of interesting things, let's just say, in the last few weeks of that. So would love your perspective.
So, there is, by the way, a chapter in my book that is called Firing and Hiring. And initially, when I sent the book proposal to some of the publishers, they told me it should be hiring and firing. And I said, no. Firing is hard decision. Hiring is actually easy decision. First of all, we need to learn how to make hard decisions. Now, this chapter is coming from multiple dialogues that I had with entrepreneurs that their startup failed, and asked them why, what happened. And about half say the team was not right. By the way, it was not the real answer. The real answer is that they did not figure out product market fit. But in their perception, half of them say the team was not right. And I kept on asking, okay, what do you mean the team was not right? And I heard, we had this guy not good enough and this guy. So not good enough was main reason. Another reason that I heard quite often is that we had communication issues, something that I actually called ego management issues. And then asked them the most interesting question: when did you know that the team is not right? That's a scary answer. All of them say it within the first month. And you say, wait a minute, if you knew within the first month that the team is not right and you didn't do anything, the problem was not that the team was not right. The problem was that the CEO did not make hard decisions. Making hard decisions is hard. Making easy decisions is easy. This is why most people don't like to make the hard decisions. And in a small organization like startup, they will go all the way to the top. Now, the nature of the beast resides someplace else. Just imagine startup is a small place, right? Imagine a small team, maybe 10, 20, 30 people, and there is someone that shouldn't be there. Everyone knows. Everyone knows, and the CEO doesn't do anything. That's the nature of the beast. And to a certain extent, by the way, I conclude this chapter with a very important insight that is basically say every time that you hire a new person, mark your calendars for 30 days down the road and ask yourself one question. Knowing what I know today, would I hire this person? Now, if the answer is no, then fire them immediately. They're not going to be successful, and everyone knows that. If the answer is yes, by the way, give them more equity. This is time to actually show the recognition that you are extremely happy with them being on board, and show them the gratitude of more equity. So the important part is that firing should happen constantly. And every time that you're going to have someone that does not fit, you need to actually do that for their own good, not just the sake of the organization and the sake of the likelihood of being successful, but for their own good, because they're not going to be successful. And the result is that if you're doing that, instead of hiring and hiring and hiring during growth period, then you end up with you need to do less of the firing when we have bearish market. Now, the reality is that many of the tech companies that are firing today, they're doing the late correction for the overstaffing and staffing of people that are not necessarily the right people in the right positions. But in general, when you need to do layoffs in order to reach profitability or in order to improve the business results, then there are two things that I would say. Number one, the most important stakeholders in your journey are your people, not the shareholders, not the board of directors, not the media, not your customers, the employees. And if there is a way for you not to do that, then don't. Then figure out that way and avoid that at all costs if possible. If you cannot, if you have to, then do one strike. That's it, right? So figure out, I need to reduce, 20% of the people, do a deeper cut, but only once. Because when you do it, then you explain to everyone, this is what we need to do. Otherwise, we will run out of cash and then everyone is going to go home. Then people will support the decision and they will be overcommitted to the next part of the journey. Now, if 3 months later you will tell them it's not enough, you would lose the commitment and the loyalty, and everyone in the company is going to start to look for a new position. So if you have to do it, if there is no other way, then figure out what is that you need to do and do even deeper cut. Unfortunately, yes.
That in and of itself was like a little mini masterclass.